Hi, this is Dr. Mack at PacificEastAquaculture.com. I'm out here at our greenhouse with some of our recent cultured clams that have come in that are now up on our website. What you see is what you get. These are cultured clams from French Polynesia. I went there about 15 years ago and helped set up the farm, and now we regularly get cultured clams from there. Cultured clams are rather easy to keep in comparison to wild collected clams, which are very difficult to keep. These are all about 3 to 3.5 inches. I think a couple of them are about 2.5 that had a little more unique patterns. So the ones that have the most unique colors and patterns, I'll photograph those and put them up on the site. What you see is what you get, and those are all up there right now. I can tell you that in the digital photography, it's difficult to really capture all the subtle differences in the coloration. Some of these have 3, 4 different colors, and I don't think that really shows up in the photos. The photos don't really do them justice compared to what they look like in real life, but I try to get them as close as possible to what they look like here. So we have them out in our greenhouse. We also have metal halide lighting as well as LED lighting them out here. When they first come in, they're extremely reactive and they need to settle in for about a week to 10 days. He's been here for a couple of weeks now, and I transition them from the natural sunlight and metal halide over to LED so that by the time you get them into your tank, they're all ready to go right in. The clams do really well with intense lighting, so that means you can use LED, just use some white light, some more full spectrum, and not just all blue or mostly blue. They really don't look that good under blue or mostly blue LED because a lot of their colors are in that blue turquoise range, and it just doesn't look quite as good under the all blue lighting on LEDs. So the clams live off the products of photosynthesis as well as dissolved organics, so that means nitrates, phosphates. So if you're feeding your tank well, if you have a lot of fish in there, you're producing some ammonia and nitrite and nitrates and phosphates are in there, and the clams utilize that nitrogen source as food. So they tend to do better in tanks that aren't quite so pristine, or in tanks that have a good fish population that's being fed well. They do not need to be fed supplementally, so you don't need to put in phytoplankton or anything else. So these are what you see is what you get clams. We also offer an R-Pick special, and that's where we pick the clams, and they're picked from these right here. So they're basically the same as the others, except I don't have to take the time to photograph them and keep them all separate. They're just as healthy, just as nice colors. Most of these tend to be the blue turquoise colorations. We have 2 different sizes. These are 3 to 3.5 inch, and we have some that are in the 2 to 2.5 inch range. And these are quite a bit less expensive than what you see is what you get, and every bit as nice. So we have those options available as well as the what you see is what you get option, and those are on our site at PacificEastAquaculture.com. Another couple of things I wanted to talk about. I already talked about feeding, so as much light as you can give them, feed your tank well, and the clams will have some nitrogen source in there that they'll utilize. So that's it as far as feeding. The clams need to have something solid to attach to. So there's a foot, so-called foot on the bottom, and that's the area that will attach to rock rubble like this one is attached to here. So you need to put them on a firm surface. If you put them into the sand bed, you need to have some rock rubble or one of these clam cradles, ceramic clam cradles of an appropriate size for that clam so that they can attach to something firm. If not, they're going to burrow through that sand to find something that's firm to attach to, and that's not the best thing for them. If you put them up on the rock work, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure it's an area where they can't fall over, because obviously it's not going to be good if they're laying upside down in your tank. So they need to have something firm to attach to. A healthy clam generally will attach to some type of a firm substrate within about a day or 2. If the clam is not healthy, generally they won't attach, and that will be not the greatest sign because then they're vulnerable. That so-called foot area is the area that's vulnerable to pests and things can get in there and bother them. The other thing that you want to be careful of is the type of fish that you keep the clams with. Generally, if you have reef-safe fish, most of them are going to be okay with clams. However, pygmy angels, even tangs, can oftentimes pester a clam. We have a customer here that I could think of recently that got a clam. Everything else, as far as corals in his tank, are doing great, but the clam just doesn't open because there's a coral beauty angel, one of the little tank-raised coral beauties in there, and it just swims over and gives the clam a little pick, and that clam just doesn't want to open up, and that's not good. So need to be a little bit more careful with the fish selection when you have clams. But as long as nothing is picking on them, you have good lighting, you have water conditions that are appropriate for a reef aquarium, as well as a little nitrate and phosphate in the tank, clams are going to do really well. These cultured clams are not delicate. They're rather easy to keep. So if you have any questions on them, contact me. We're at PacificEastAquaculture.com. Take care.